You know that feeling you get when you land somewhere totally new. It's that thrill of the unfamiliar. You've read all the guidebooks, you know the landmarks to see, but then you have that tiny everyday moment that just makes you stop and ask, wait, what just happened?
That's it. That is where the real education begins. Once you get past the big tourist sites and you start, engaging with the daily rhythm of a country, buying groceries, taking the subway, just eating a meal, you realize how many things you took for granted are actually they're just your local customs.
Exactly. And that's what we're getting into today, those genuine cultural shocks.
Yeah.
The strange, the hilarious, and just the completely baffling things you run into. Our mission is to take this stack of sources and really explore how radically different cultures handle the most basic parts of life. Food, time, social rules.
Right. And the goal isn't just to list them, but to get into the why. Because what feels completely logical to you could seem totally inefficient or even just plain weird to someone else. Understanding that cultural logic is how you turn that potential awkwardness into a real aha moment.
Okay, so let's start where all good interactions begin, with food.
Yeah.
It's universal, but it's also where you get some of the first and most immediate shocks.
It really is. And often it's not even the food itself. It's the mechanics of getting it from the plate to your mouth.
What do you mean?
Well, in Western society, we rely almost completely on a knife and fork. It's a technology really designed to maintain a certain distance, a formality between you and the meal.
And that all changes when you travel, say, east or south.
Completely. You go to places like India or much of the Middle East, parts of Africa, and eating with your hands isn't just okay. It's often the preferred, the traditional way to do it. Our sources had this great story of a traveler in South Asia who was shocked not by the local food, but by watching someone use a knife and fork to cut a slice of pizza.
I can actually picture that. The knife and fork suddenly looks so out of place. Why the shock, though?
It's about the sensory experience.
Mm-hmm.
Using your hand, specifically your right hand in many cultures, creates this direct tactile connection with what you're eating. You feel the texture, the temperature. To use cutlery for something like pizza feels like putting up a wall. It can come off as overly formal or even a little fussy.
That totally reframes the whole experience of eating. Okay, but let's talk about flavors, because I find the unexpected food combinations are often the most jarring.
Oh, for sure. We think we know what's supposed to go together, but then you go to Japan or South Korea, and your pizza might come topped with corn and peas and like a big swirl of mayonnaise.
Flavors that an American would just never connect with pizza.
Never. And the sources also mention these surprising sweet and savory pairs like watermelon with cheese, which is actually a pretty popular snack in parts of China.
And we have to admit, we export our own weirdness. The classic American peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yes.
A staple for us. But international visitors often say it's one of the strangest things they've ever tried. Just too sweet for a savory meal.
It's all about the palate you develop over a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of jarring, we have to talk about the delicacy shock.
Okay.
These are the foods that really challenge your definition of what's edible. We're talking about things like fried tarantulas in Cambodia.
Wow.
Which, started as a food of necessity during famine, but now it's a local specialty.
Or what about that fermented shark in Iceland? Hakkarl. I heard that one is notorious.
It is. It's known for this really potent smell, almost like ammonia. Most people need a shot of local liquor just to get it down.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then in France, it's a bit closer to home, but still a leap for many. Escargot. Snails.
Right.
The insight here is that our culture doesn't just suggest what we eat. It fundamentally shapes our neurochemical definition of what delicious even is.
That's a huge point. Okay, moving on from the plate to the invisible rulebook. Social interaction. This is where travelers can really mess up without even realizing it.
Yeah, we're shifting from the explicit culture of food to the implicit social contracts, the unspoken code. And what's fascinating is how much energy some cultures spend trying not to bother other people.
You're leading me right to the idea of public silence.
Mm-hmm.
Japan is the prime example from our sources. Noise on public transport is seen as deeply rude. No loud chatting, no music, definitely no phone calls.
Yes, and that norm is so tied to this cultural concept of meiwaku, the idea of not inconveniencing others. The expectation is just this profound, quiet consideration. If you're talking loudly, you are forcing your conversation onto dozens of strangers.
Which is a stark contrast to, a loud subway car in New York or London where noise is just part of the background.
A completely different philosophy.
So if that's the noise level, what about the physical level? Personal space, that is a huge variable.
Absolutely. It's a whole field of study, proxemics, and it varies wildly. In cultures like in Latin America or the Middle East, standing very close when you talk is normal. It's a sign of friendliness, of engagement.
It shows you're comfortable.
Exactly. It implies trust. But if you try that in the UK or Germany or Scandinavia, you will physically see people take a step back. It makes them uncomfortable.
Because they're operating on a different wavelength of what's considered a respectful distance.
A completely different bandwidth. For them, more distance equals more respect for an individual's autonomy.
Okay, let's tackle the true minefield for travelers. Tipping.
Oh, the tipping dilemma, yes.
In the U.S., it is absolutely critical. It's a huge part of a service worker's income. It's expected.
And the insight there is all about the economic structure. In the US, tipping is basically a cultural subsidy for low wages. But then you go to a country like Japan, where staff are paid a fair wage and professionalism is incredibly high. Tipping can be seen as insulting.
Insulting? How so?
It implies that you think they're underpaid. Or it suggests a kind of master-servant dynamic that just isn't there.
So the very act you intend as politeness showing gratitude can be taken as you suggesting they have a low status. All because the cultural norm is different.
Exactly. It's a massive insight for any traveler. It forces you to see the service industry as a reflection of a society's values around labor.
Let's move from social etiquette to surprising public rules, laws, and everyday practicalities that are just so different from home.
We have to start with the classic example. The chewing gum ban in Singapore. It's not a suggestion. It is a serious legal restriction with hefty fines.
Why, though? Why so strict over something as simple as gum?
It all ties back to their national priority of cleanliness and order. The law was put in place to stop the mess and vandalism from discarded gum on trains and sidewalks. It's a social contract where the collective tidiness is valued more than an individual's preference.
Speaking of strictness, what about traffic rules? Our sources pointed out huge differences, especially for pedestrians.
Yes. Take Germany. Even if the street is completely empty, no cars for miles, you'll see people waiting patiently at a red light.
And it's not just about avoiding a fine, is it?
No, it's about reinforcing the social contract. It shows trust in the system. The rule is the rule.
You compare that to other cities where traffic lights can feel more like suggestions.
Right, where your individual assessment of the danger is more important than the official rule. And another public behavior that varies is public displays of affection. PDA. In places like France or Italy, public kissing, hugging, it's completely normal. It's just part of the atmosphere.
But if you travel to more conservative countries, those exact same actions could be seriously frowned upon, or even illegal, depending on the local decency laws.
It's a powerful reminder that public space itself is interpreted very differently everywhere.
Okay, let's unpack this next one. Let's talk about toilet culture.
Ah, yes.
A basic human need with a shocking amount of diversity.
The first hurdle for many Western travelers is the squat toilet. Still very common across Asia and the Middle East. It requires a major physical adjustment if you're not used to it.
And the interesting thing is the perspective from the other side.
Right.
People who primarily use squat toilets often see sitting on a shared public surface as pretty unhygienic. Squatting means no contact.
And it's often cited as being more anatomically efficient for elimination.
Then you have the plumbing.
Yeah.
The bidet or the little handheld toilet showers the Shad have.
So common in Europe, the Middle East, Asia. It points to a totally different standard of cleaning, favoring water over paper, something that's still quite rare in the US or the UK.
And finally, the economics of it all. Paying to use a public restroom.
Yes, in places like Germany or the Netherlands, it's standard to pay, 50 cents or a euro.
And that's not a scam, it's the model.
It's the model. It ensures the facilities are staffed, clean, and maintained. It turns a public service into a functional business, which can be really surprising to travelers used to free and sometimes poorly kept public bathrooms.
That really covers the practical shocks. Now let's pivot to the more abstract stuff. Time and work.
Yes, these are the deeply ingrained expectations that can completely derail everything if you're not prepared.
So let's start with time.
Time basically operates on two major axes around the world, linear and flexible. In highly structured linear time cultures, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, time is a limited commodity. Being even a few minutes late is deeply rude.
Because you're wasting their resource.
You're wasting their resource, exactly. But in flexible time cultures,
Places like Brazil, India, Southern Europe.
perfect examples. Time is more fluid. It's subservient to the relationship. Showing up 15 or 30 minutes late for a social event is often not a big deal at all.
The priority is the person, not the clock.
Precisely. And we see this reflected in practices like the Spanish siesta, that long midday break where everything closes.
Which can be so confusing for tourists.
Of course, because it reflects social and family priorities, and historically, avoiding the worst heat of the day, it's an accommodation to a different rhythm of life.
Okay, what about work-life balance?
Huge differences. You have cultures like Japan where professional dedication can lead to karoshi, which is literally death by overwork.
Wow.
It highlights an extreme emphasis on long hours and company loyalty.
And on the other end of the spectrum.
You have the Nordic countries. Their efficiency is prized. You can have shorter work weeks. Work is seen as a means to achieve a high quality of leisure time. The whole cultural definition of a good life is just different.
It's fascinating. Okay, to wrap up cultural norms, let's dive into superstitions. The truly illogical beliefs that still govern so much behavior.
This is where cultures get incredibly specific, and you even see it built into architecture with lucky and unlucky numbers.
Right. In the West, we have the number 13, skip floors and buildings, all of that. But that's just the start.
It is. In China, the number 4 is intensely unlucky because its pronunciation, si, sounds almost identical to the word for death.
So they'll actually skip the 4th floor in buildings.
Oh, yeah. And in Italy, the unlucky number is 17 because the Roman numeral *** can be rearranged to form the Latin word vixleth, which means I have lived.
As in my life is over.
Exactly. It's a very deep linguistic association.
It's amazing how those old connections still influence modern life.
And it goes beyond numbers. You have action-based superstitions. We have, breaking a mirror or knocking on wood.
Yeah.
But in Brazil, for example, putting your purse or your wallet on the floor is said to bring financial ruin. It's seen as disrespecting your money.
We have certainly covered a lot of ground today, all the way from how to eat your pizza to which numbers to avoid. It's been quite a journey.
And the core realization, the thing we really want you to take away, is that these moments of confusion are not roadblocks. They are gifts. Experiencing the unexpected is the best part of travel because it forces you to look at your own norms and ask, wait, why do we do it that way?
It's all about appreciating the incredible, strange, and sometimes contradictory diversity of being human. You just have to keep your mind open and definitely keep a sense of humor.
So as a final thought for you, our listener, I want you to think about an everyday habit or belief from your own culture. Something you do without even thinking about it.
Could be anything.
Anything. The way you line up for something, a specific food you eat on a holiday, a common slang phrase you use every day. They're trying to imagine explaining the cultural logic, the why, behind that habit to someone from a completely different background. How strange or funny or illogical might that completely normal thing seem? What cultural norm stands out most to you?
That's a powerful challenge. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
My pleasure. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring your world.